So what can really be done to force the political parties to act, to force them to ensure that those who are willing for a price to organize a riot are virtually ostracized from politics? Can that actually happen in India? Will this expose have that effect ahead of elections in India's most populous state? S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner, is with me. Also with me, Vikram Singh, former DG of Police in Uttar Pradesh. I appreciate both of you joining us. I want to ask you, Mr. Qureshi, do you really believe that it is possible to ensure that such people are denied tickets? Is there any legal bar on them? Is there anything that can be done? Or is it simply a case where once all the outrage over this report dies out, then it will be life as normal ahead of the UP elections?
Well, legally there is no bar at all. Even if a case is filed against them, which it should be, it is basically for the political party, the leadership and their leadership to take action against them. It's such a blatant thing which we saw with our own eyes, and they should not give them the tickets, and they should punish them in exemplary fashion, because the credibility of the party itself is at stake, and I'm sure they will be conscious of it and they'll be bothered about it.
But as the Election Commission itself, could it in any way, do you believe that when instances like this happen, I mean, obviously once you take charge of the elections and once the elections are announced in a state like Uttar Pradesh, it is possible for you to act. But in other times, presumably this MLA can get away.
Of course. Yes, indeed. Election Commission has no power in non-election time, and even in the election time, even in the cases where criminal cases are pending, serious cases, rape, dacoity, murder and kidnapping, they cannot be debarred, and we have been demanding for the last 20 years, Election Commission and the Law Commission, that in serious cases, heinous offences, at least in those cases during trial also, they should be debarred from contesting. But the point which I am trying to make is that what stops the political parties to assert their moral authority and deny these people any patronage and ticket. In fact, they should take a very stringent punitive action.
You use an interesting word, moral authority. The reason I haven't got any politicians today on the show is they will not, in a sense, they will say what they want, as they did last night on my show, and will not act against such MLAs, and that's my worry, the moral authority. Is there any way in which the police, Mr. Vikram Singh, former DG for police in Uttar Pradesh, can act against these leaders? The fact is, this is a sting operation. So technically they could argue that they actually did not commit a criminal act. Is there any way in which the police can act against such individuals?
Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, you have opened a can of worms, and the incontrovertible evidence that you have uncovered would make very, very senior people very uncomfortable. The IPC gives a classic example that I put my hand in your pocket with the purpose of picking it and you do not have a purse. Even then I am liable to be prosecuted, and that is the classic example given by Lord Macaulay. By the same analogy, even if it's a sting operation, the guilt is proven beyond doubt and an FIR can be lodged and they can be prosecuted.
FIR can be lodged against
can still be
it
lodged.
Can be lodged under the penal code?
Yes, it
for
can
what,
be.
Section 153A for inciting violence between communities?
Absolutely, 153A and other sections of the IPC. Then, apart from that, they could be debarred with the political parties. But political morality is a myth, and the less said the better. It is for the police, but again you would understand the highly politicized the police force is. I have very serious reservations whether this will happen or not. But at the same time, constant digging by you and by the news channels, I'm sure an FIR is a distinct possibility.
I want to ask this again. In your experience, you've been a police officer in UP through your career. Are you surprised by this, or do you believe that this is the practice in Uttar Pradesh, where politicians for a price are ready to organize a riot because they see benefit in dividing communities?
I had a gut suspicion that this was a fact. I always felt that this is a possibility, but it would be so brazen and so blatant. I did not for once believe that it would happen so brutally and cold-blooded and deliberate manner. Never for once. Even I, somebody who knows the politics of my state and the nation inside out, even I did not believe that it was so mathematical and there was a distinct algorithm of economics to go to prove that they could possibly do a thing as criminal and horrendous as this.
Are you surprised at all, S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner, with this, or do you believe this happens ahead of elections? Elections in UP are 7 months away, and my fear is what we've shown on this tape may just be the tip of the iceberg. Do you believe that this happens ahead of elections in states like Uttar Pradesh?
Well, I'm absolutely shocked, but I'm not surprised, because we know, everybody knows that these things happen, and polarizing politics has been happening. In fact, it's a sad situation that elections, instead of cleaning up our democracy, they have perpetuated caste and communal divide. 60 years ago, people who did not know their caste, they now have been told their subcaste. And because the votes are divided on those lines. But good thing, Rajdeep, which has happened in this case, fortunately, that people from both communities have been caught. Otherwise, it would have been communalized as an issue. At least you focus on the phenomenon itself, which is so ugly, and which is why the response has been very muted. Otherwise, both sides would have jumped into the fray, accusing each other that there is a conspiracy of one community against the other and things like that.
It's interesting you're making that point.
Has been brought out very forcefully by you.
Yeah, it's interesting you're making that point, and I must be honest. It's interesting you're making that point. I must be honest. We made a conscious effort to ensure that we actually looked at how individuals in both communities are used in a sense to stir a riot. Muslim extremists as well as Hindu extremists are used, and that is the unfortunate reality, the dark reality of Uttar Pradesh. But I just want to know from you, Vikram Singh, given this dark reality, do you fear the worst as we head to another election in Uttar Pradesh? Because the Prime Minister talks of development, Akhilesh Yadav talks of development, other politicians talk of development, but on the ground, we've seen what's happened in Muzaffarnagar, we've seen what's happened in other parts of Uttar Pradesh. The reality seems to be that politicians believe you can get votes by dividing people.
The heavy dividends that would be the outcome in case of a communal fallout, well, the dividends are very much there. But let me tell you once, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, when Mr. Qureshi was the election commissioner of 2009 elections, his no-nonsense and an upright approach saw through an absolutely peaceful election in UP. If you have upright people, honest people at the top, nothing is going to happen. But there are people who would perhaps show me the man and I'll show you the rules. If that be the syndrome, well, this is just a trailer, and I really shudder to think what could be a possibility if this were to be the trailer.
This is just a trailer, and remember, this was a sting operation that we created to expose these politicians. God forbid if someone actually went out there with the purpose of inciting a riot in a state like Uttar Pradesh. This is a wake-up call, and hopefully someone out there is waking up. Mr. Qureshi, Mr. Vikram Singh, I appreciate your joining us on the news today.